Oh hey, it's Wes. We have a lot of tripods here. Because today we want to talk about the new Ulanzi-Coman Zero Tripod. I have the most common carbon fiber tripod, the Manfrotto BeFree Advanced Carbon Fiber, and arguably more common, but less talked about, is the super generic Neewer Carbon Fiber Tripod. We're going to compare these in depth, and hopefully we won't break anything, but if we do, hey, then we've learned something. I did not just receive this tripod in the mail, I have been using it hard for a few weeks now. As you can see, if we look a little bit closer here, we have a fair amount of damage going on here. Not necessarily damage, but just general grossness because I have used this in salt water. I have not been kind to this tripod. I have used this as one would use a tripod, with complete abandon and lack of discretion. And so we are ready to really get into this. This is considered a super compact travel tripod, and it comes with this nifty little carry bag, which I would never use because I don't put anything in bags. I just jam them all into one big thing, whatever I'm doing. But if you have the default teeny tiny little ball head on here, it will fit in that bag. They also sent me this optional head that we'll talk a little bit more later. Will no longer fit in the bag if you are using the optional video head. Looks very nice, feels excellent, everything feels very pleasant in the hand. And so we have this ball head that has some compromises, as most ultra compact ball heads do. We have a release lever here, and this affords us quite a bit of travel both ways over here. The issue that I have with this ball head though is that so this is the special F38 version of this tripod that includes Ulanzi's special quick release plate. There is also the Y version of this tripod that has a more standard Arca Swiss plate. Personally, I prefer an Arca Swiss, but this allows you to make things even smaller still, as small as possible and as compact as possible. And you can also use Ulanzi's pan tilt video head. Now this head has enormously smooth motion, and it's actually spring-loaded, which is interesting, so that helps push against the weight. There's also a handle column that attaches into that. Everything's super smooth, but you don't get a ball head, so you have to adjust the balance with the tripod legs themselves. Aside from that, this is a fantastically compact, incredibly smooth head, and you're looking at Arca Swiss on the top. Because all my cameras have the Spider Pro plate attached to them. And that's just what I'm used to using. If you want to use the smallest quick release that you can possibly use for this and keep the size down, then this special edition will serve you well. But if I want to use this super compact thing, I have to put this into this. And I found the rubber on this is so thick that it always has a fair bit of play to it. Another issue that I had is these plates both use a very standard Allen key size. This is the one that came with the Ulanzi video head. And this is the compact one. The problem with that is it also comes with this Allen key tool. And the first time I tried to get this tight enough, because this hole is so small and the Allen key size is so small, it cammed out, and as you can see there, kind of stripped the Allen key hole the very first time. Now, thankfully, there is a pretty standard slot there, so I can still use a quarter to tighten it in the way that it should be, but that didn't work well. And one other note with this tool here, it also can be used to tighten and calibrate our shaft here. Right in here, there is a hole that you need to insert this Allen key into because the center column is actually two pieces. And mine loosened up after a bit of use. So we jam that in there, tighten it down, then my center column is good as new. So that was a relief. I thought that maybe this had kind of a tragic weakness that couldn't be solved, but thankfully that's not a problem. And then we take this and insert it into the bottom of the column. I'm not going to do that now though because it prevents me from removing it. And stick around because a little bit later we're going to be putting this to the test hard. Now the last time I did tripod reviews, I put the camera on, I put a weight on the lens and measured the deflection, but when I went to do that this time, I noticed that much of my deflection is coming from the Arca Swiss mount into the bottom of the camera. The camera's flexing, the mount is flexing. It's not the tripod's fault. So we're gonna get right down to the basics and measure how rigid these legs are. Here's where we get to the part where I hope we don't break anything. I'm going to sit on this stool and I'm gonna put this sandbag on the end of this leg. Everything's clamped down, good to go. And this is going to tell us how rigid this thing is, how resistant to shaking and bending and wobbling. That gives us a deflection down to 27 inches. So we have 7 inches of deflection with our Zero tripod. I am not confident that our other tripods are not going to break. Next up is our generic tripod. Right, like that. 24.5 inches. This leg appears to be more rigid. Let's release that. Whoa, that was not good. As soon as I clamped that down, I heard it crack. Makes me wonder if this is gonna hold up at all. This is at 20 inches. I hear cracking, and we are deflecting down to 24 inches. Now, if we extend all the legs to the same 44-inch leg length of the shortest leg, the Manfrotto, we get some different results, much closer. And it should be noted that one of the obvious reasons that the Ulanzi-Coman is bending a little bit more is it has one more leg segment. So even though the individual carbon fiber leg lengths appear to be more rigid than the ones in the Manfrotto, there are less of them and less joints to bend. Let's compare our compactness now. There, here's a Manfrotto BeFree. Now this one is actually significantly taller than the BeFree. So to get the BeFree to be full human height, you have to extend the center column most of the way, whereas this one, you do not. Obviously, our Neewer is about an inch longer. But our BeFree and our Zero are about the same length. But you will notice that the Zero is significantly smaller overall. Oh, sorry, I didn't bring it in all the way. Now the Zero is just a little bit shorter. So this is gonna fit in your bag better, and it's gonna fit in that carry case better. Now, should I be comparing this directly to the Peak Design Travel Tripod? Let's have a little look here. The Peak Design Travel Tripod is $850. This Ulanzi-Coman Zero Tripod is $395, but mostly sells for $370. That's less than half the price. This weighs 1.1 kilograms or 2.2 pounds, whereas the Peak Design weighs 1.29 kilograms or 2.81 pounds. This weighs less. This extends up to 156 centimeters and goes down to 42 centimeters. The Peak Design goes down to 39 centimeters, so 3 centimeters shorter, but likewise when deployed, this is 3 centimeters longer at 152.4 centimeters. So this weighs less, takes up just fractionally more space, and costs less than half as much. Now, unfortunately, the head on this column is not removable by default, but if I tighten this down on the video column, I can take this off and I have a standard tripod head mount. And you can put whatever head you want on this if you don't like the heads that come with it. It won't be as compact, sure, but you have options. But if you really want to save a buck and you're thinking of getting that Peak Design tripod, I've already told you about all the weaknesses of this. If this does the job for you, oh my goodness, save several $100s and buy this instead. Got links down in the description below if you want to pick up one of these. If you have any questions or comments or advice on this, let me know down below. And unlike a lot of tripod reviews, this has been through it with me and it's doing great. I did not just take this out of the box. I took way longer than Ulanzi wanted me to take to get this done, to do a good job and really be sure that this is going to get the job done. Anyway, let's go take some photos.